All right, I tried to go live earlier in my broadcast cut. This is going to be about the Matrix and also about the Mark of the Beast system. I'll probably be hashtagging that and putting that up there in a little bit when I download and upload this live broadcast. So what's going on here is that we've got a control system in this world. A lot of people use the example of the Matrix as kind of an example of the world that we live in, and there are some similarities. What I would simply say is that the beast system, the control grid that conscripts human effort is enslaving humanity and mind controlling them. Yesterday I had an opportunity to meet a representative from Google out here, worked with the hardware. And then there are those that work with the software. What is the software? Well, it's the programming, of course, and the hardware not only is wires and routers and in that, it's us. Yeah, how about that? Yeah, we're living in a system that conscripts a deceived and enslaved humanity to mind control the rest of people that are actually unplugging from this matrix of deception. So how does that work? Well, it's very effective. Many of the people that we meet are going to be conscripted into this control grid. If somebody talks like me, what they would like to do is family members support the drugging of that individual because obviously they're out of touch with reality. So the unfortunate situation is that reality sounds crazy to the deceived. Oh well, bummer for them, the deceived individuals. By irony and paradox, they don't know they're deceived. Pride is a powerful catalyst. People that are well situated in this world system with a lot of stuff and credentials and apparent respect from their support network, whether it's the family, the university they maybe work with, or the government agency that pays for all their stuff. So is Google a government agency? The CIA, FBI, DARPA, or NASA? It's all a psychological operation. The whole thing, all of it. Disney, Lucasfilms, Spielberg, Pixar. It's all a psychological operation to mind control humanity into having a false reality. And what I'm endeavoring to do is show people the world that we actually live in. Normally I'd be up close to the ocean, which is right over here. The open ocean is in the middle of the view. That's the island I include in a lot of video. You can see the ripples in the water. I'll be getting the P1000 soon. That's my P900. This view right here, I went downwind, down elevation. I'm much lower than I would normally be. There's a whole lot of extra sand that came in here. I can see a ghost crab running across the beach because of the elevation. Right in the middle of the view is the open ocean. We're facing direct. This is looking directly south. So part of the reality that we're living in is that we have a creation. The God of the Bible, I believe, created this. The mark of the beast that is actually upon us right now is it's just about fully ready to deploy as best I can. It's working concurrently with our current system of life. The way that we currently live has a digital tracking, tracing, databasing, and threat assessing of all of us. What kind of a threat am I? I do meet people from the alphabet agencies, from the DEA, FBI, CIA, talked with them, and then some of them just can't tell me which agency they're with. What kind of a threat am I? Well, part of what you're dealing with is or what you're looking at. This isn't natural. It's actually supernatural, in the context that Jesus helps me to do what I would just not be able to do on my own, and I wouldn't have any interest in doing it either. Okay, so like right here in the shot, we've got a near and far distance. The ocean is in the middle of the view there, the open ocean. I want to kind of stick with the broadcast as far as what I'm talking about, and I'll have to be checking the sound when I get home, see how it is. Does it seem to be pretty clear? Can somebody let me know if the sound is okay? All right, this might be a bit of a challenge. So anyway, I'm going to go over a couple of things. The reality of the world that we live in is where the sun and the moon appear and vanish, indicate the movement of them, the sun and the moon and the stars, the wind and the water, all that. The earth is stable, not moving, whether you like it or agree with it or not. The truth is the truth no matter how few people believe it, and a lie is still a lie no matter how many people believe that. So one of the ironies here is that there's a lot of very proud individuals that are deceived, and ultimately the great deceiver is Satan. He was and is currently deceived. He and all his children will have accommodations, I understand, in hell forever. And what I'm wanting to do is hand out the invitation for an eternal perspective that you can enjoy. So I'm not a cosmic killjoy, neither is the God of the Bible. He created us in such a way that he gave us commandments to help us to know how to live. And we must be born again to even see the kingdom of heaven. So that's what you're getting with me. I'm unapologetically biblical in the truth movements that I'm in. If one of my broadcasts and videos comes your way and you're really upset that I'm talking about things you don't want featured in your group, please just go ahead and you don't need to file a report or complain to YouTube, Google, or whoever. Just go ahead and kick me out of the group. That's just fine. If you're an admin for a group that isn't really interested in the truth, then it's okay. I don't want your efforts to try and protect your members, your group members, from me. I don't want that to hinder the efforts that I have to reach out to the rest of humanity. Well, it's pretty spectacular, isn't it? Oh yeah. As usual, the wind increased as the sun broke the plane at this vantage point. I've been noticing that more and more now. So what I'm going to do here, just so you can see it a little bit better, flat earth researchers, they're all over the place. Many of them just don't know we're on a flat earth. Look at her, standing there checking out the ocean, doing a selfie on the beach. Family fishing, awesome. Yeah, birds displaying aerodynamics. There we've got a ship on the horizon and people walking on a little sliver of sand. The low tide is approximately 2 hours after the sun appeared here. So it's going to continue to go out. The trees on the beach came from largely this area right here. And what happened was the beach renourishment process narrowed the path that the water flows, increased the, how would I say, how aggressive it is, and it carved out the trees that were there. Just carved them right out of there. The kind of turbulence that happens is actually spectacular. When the tide comes in here, there will be big waves crashing into one another. Now, in this puddle right there, that tidal pool, I can see the trees that are up on the island right there. Ooh, I think I'm going to start the P900 video right now. So some of the greetings. This narration is going to be for my live Facebook audience, as well as it will be converted to a YouTube audience. The Matrix, hashtag the Matrix, and I will probably also include the Mark of the Beast to make sure I've covered a whole lot. I believe actually the Mark of the Beast and the Matrix are very much alike, very much in common. Kennedy talked about a military industrial complex. You can hear the speech. It's on my liked videos. What's happened in my life, all my life, I've been a researcher. And I researched in dictionaries when people used words I did not know, and I wanted to know what they meant. And then I would read encyclopedias, and I had a fascination with wanting to know about the world that we live in. And what had happened to me was I was deceived. I was deceived about the nature of the world that we live in. I used to be an atheist, so I'm not intimidated by atheists. There really aren't any atheists. They're just really ticked off that there's a deity that would tell them what to do, so they convince themselves that there is no God. So 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 says they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. For this reason, God sends them a powerful delusion. So Scripture says basically that they're without excuse. He is evident. He, the Creator, is evident within His creation. I've got biblical support for that statement, whether you like it or not. The Bible says a lot of things to a lot of people, supports a lot of activity that's not even biblical because they're deceived. The short version for me is I thought I was born again until I actually was. For my Facebook and YouTube audience watching this feed, wait until you see the P900 video that gets merged with it. Absolutely mesmerizing. Zoomed in. I'll be getting my P1000 camera soon, Lord willing. Yesterday, I met a representative from Google. Some of what I'm about to say I already said earlier on the Facebook broadcast. That's okay. I want you to look at this, see what you're looking at, and hear what I have to say about it. He works with the hardware for Google. And then on the West Coast and other locations, they work with the software, the programming, the algorithms, and all of that. Oh my gosh, wait until you see this video, all the birds in it zoomed in. So as the software is the programming, the hardware is not only wires, routers, storage, it's us. We're part of the software. We're part of the system. The matrix of control recognizes, I should say, the adversary of God, Satan, Lucifer, who was cast out of heaven, and a third of the angels that were cast out with him are angry, and they're in a battle, and they're ultimately deceived too. Proud and deceived, just like his children. Proud and deceived. Now, Jesus can extract people from that deception, and I'm convinced it's only by God's grace that that can even happen. God's grace meaning His unmerited favor. I didn't decide who my parents would be. I stepped onto this stage in 1961, actually earlier than that, right around January or so when I was conceived. Actually before my parents were married. How about that? Imagine that. And then they both transitioned. They're where they're going to spend an eternity from what I understand. So I was conceived in the mind of God as well as all of His children before the foundation of the world, when our names were put in the Lamb's Book of Life. Pretty fascinating. It's the doctrine of election. It's God's sovereignty. He's in charge. He doesn't hope some of the people will recognize his plan of salvation, will be born again. He caused it to happen. He causes it to happen. Hey Ben, good to see you. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome to stay right on here and check this out if you care to. Sure. So I meet fascinating people from all over the world, and that's just an amazing thing to be able to do. Now with the zoomed in view that I've got on the P900 here, it's really fascinating. There's again the appearance that the sun is in the midst of the clouds. And so even though I don't have an exact explanation of how that works, what I would simply acknowledge is that it happens, and that there's mystery within the creation. Now I'm going to zoom in on some ships on the horizon and people walking out there. Flat Earth research, we're all flat earthers. Some of us know it. Some do not know it yet. Some may never come to believe it in this life. I'm zoomed in on people on the ship there. Pretty amazing. So there's a lot of content on my profile that I have documentaries, some that I've just created like this, and they're brief. I'm showing the reality and commenting on what I've learned, what I believe to be the reality of the world that we live in, as well as other documentaries that others have created. Now I'm zoomed in on people that look like they're buried in the sand up to their neck. Well, it's about perspective, folks. It means that I'm low and so are they. So you'll be able to see this video, Lord willing, and I say that because yesterday I got spanked by Facebook. It said I was using the copy and paste feature, adding my YouTube video to my photos. Says I was using that inappropriately. I disagreed. I just typed in why and how. I just want to know. Tell me why you believe I'm misusing a feature and how that would be the case. So with all of this, the control system conscripts the algorithms of searches, the queries that people type in. They're looking for truth. They want to know what's going on. The mark of the beast is a system of the shadow government of the world, as well as all the unknowing deceived individuals. By irony and paradox, the deceived are unaware that they're deceived. They don't know. And they don't know that they don't know. And the proud individuals that are typically deceived, as best I can tell, get really angry when somebody would suggest that they're wrong, that they don't get it, that they've been deceived. Well, the reality of it is, like my friend Matt Long mentioned at the Flat Earth International Conference, I was deceived, realized it, and we were homeschooling our sons, and I didn't even know that the globe was a deception to look into. And so I acknowledged the fact that I was deceived, and then I'm doing what I can to expose that. So we can all have a liked video playlist on YouTube, and we can create other playlists as well that add validity to the statements that we make. Many of my friends viewing this right now are aware that we don't live on a globe. All this flat water doesn't conform to a spinning ball somewhere. Plus, Scripture says that this world does not move. That's a big deal. Not moving means not spinning, gyrating, wobbling, and plus, there aren't any power walkers, joggers, bikers, crane operators, ship captains, upside down in relationship to one another. That's just not even possible. Neither are planes flying through buildings in New York on 9/11. patently a lie. And the Patriot Act that not only enslaved the United States, the population here, it's a worldwide thing. And there's worldwide control of humanity. When somebody steps out of line and has the audacity or the courage to expose the truth. This is a courage that is beyond my own ability. It's something that God gave me, and He gives me this every day to do what He created me to do. So in the context of all of this, there's a system of control where the food supply is being putrefied with chemicals that reduce people's perception. A good example would be refined sugar, aspartame, chemical colorings, preservatives. They can call something a preservative that's an excitotoxin, a neurotoxin, a flavoring, and it's kind of complicated. They do add fluoride in the water and say it's for our teeth, and it doesn't help teeth. It leads to fluorosis, and it leads toward a very imperceptive individual. A lot of people that are toxic with not only chemicals, toxic with their thinking. They're unloving, unforgiving, they're not born again, and they're just really upset with their lot in life. And many of them have a victim mentality. When I was, even though I thought I was born again over 30 years ago, until I actually was about it's coming up on 4 years on Reformation Day, I was looking to pin the blame on somebody. Why was it the bad teaching? Was it the snake oil salesmen that were presenting the Word of God and conforming it to their own distorted perspective? What was it? Well, it was actually the God who created me had a different purpose for me. It was basically to put the rest of humanity on alert that, I thought I was born again until I actually was. That's a big deal. The power of the Spirit is so much more than the original equipment, the flesh. Everybody basically is born with flesh, from what I see and understand. Now, I do believe there's genetic cloning. Dolly the sheep, I'm sure, wasn't the only thing that they cloned. I don't trust them. As in the days of Noah, so would it be at the coming of the Son of Man. When He returns, it's going to be much like that. Genesis 6, the sons of God, fallen angels, cohabitating and giving birth to a race of anti-God demonic entities that were giants, the Nephilim. You can research that if you care to, or just scroll on by. I really don't debate people chatting on a post. What I typically do, and I'll do it again, is go ahead and put my card out there so you can see that and call me if you care to. Anytime, about anything. And so the other dynamic with this is not only are there Satan's children, there are demonically possessed individuals that may be God's children that will be relieved of that demonic entity at some point in their human experience. All of God's children will absolutely be born of His Spirit. So pretty much from what I understand how this works is that a child of God can be inhabited by a demon, and then when Jesus takes up residence in that child of God, the demon leaves, no longer inhabits the individual. So he doesn't, this is not really a timeshare pitch at all. I'm basically wanting people to know that greater is He that is in us than he that's in the world, those of us that are actually born of the Spirit at this time. Not all of God's children have even been born the first time, let alone born again. As Jesus says in the Gospel of John, He's talking to the scribes and the Pharisees. He says, "You can't hear me because you're of your father, the devil." So the devil has children and God has children. I'm one of God's children. Many of my friends are, and I don't know exactly who Satan's children are either, because they can be involved in Satanism, hedonism, paganism, all kinds of stuff. Atheist. I was an atheist, like I said, and then I was a hedonist. I was just looking to please myself. And the God who created me is not a cosmic killjoy taking the pleasure out of life. He actually caused things to give us pleasure, obediently walking with him. The natural order of the way that he created us to live. Now, there are many people that want to do their own thing. They don't want God telling them what to do, or anybody telling them what to do. And the more money a person has, once they have enough of it, they can pretty much tell other people to just, buzz off. If they've got a big supply of money, maybe they made something and made a bunch of money, so they can just basically do their own thing. What I would draw your attention to is, what will it profit a man if he gain the whole world and lose his soul? Or what can a man give in exchange for his soul? So according to what Scripture says, the author of Scripture is the God who created this world. He says in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, they refused to love the truth and so be saved. For this reason, God sends them a powerful delusion. So this is beyond a satanic deception. God himself will, as a consequence of the insincere investigation, cause that investigator to believe the lie evidently they want to believe. So when somebody first comes across new information like I did, I wanted to know the truth more than just to be right. I wasn't sure if I was right. Well, I believe that's humility. That's the essence of humility, I believe, is wanting to know the truth, and ultimately Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And nobody comes to the Father but through him. I've got a special treat for my live audience and YouTube post of this. There's going to be some very interesting video. It should cause you to see things differently. And for the live broadcast, I'll simply say there are people walking out there at a level that's well, very interesting. It looks like they're walking along and they're sliding across the sand because we can't see their legs in some cases. It has to do with perspective. In the shot right now, I've got relatively calm water. Down lower and up higher are the larger waves. One of the reasons why this matters is being out in creation, getting a lot of fresh air and exercise, putting a lot of healthy stuff in the body and keeping the toxins out of the body are an important aspect in how to know the reality that we live in. And ultimately, I believe that the truth equals reality. The reality of the situation is what is factual, what is actual. You want to know? You want to know what the truth is? Well, part of the truth is that there's a satanic deception that is enslaving humanity with a false reality, conscripting corporate controlled media and supposed entertainment and all of that in a very convoluted mind control system. If that weren't enough, then we've got all the mind-controlled individuals that are exerting their distorted perception of reality and calling for the drugging of family members that don't go along with this ruse, this deception. And then there are the corporations that make the chemicals that toxify the perception of humanity. Fluoride in the toothpaste is toxic. You put toxic stuff in your mouth, it goes through your your membranes in your mouth and goes into your brain. Put aluminum under your arms for deodorant, you're going to end up with aluminum in your system. Cook with aluminum, you're going to get aluminum in your brain. It's conductive. It's unhealthy for brain function. Coconut oil is healthy for brain function. A low-fat, highly toxic artificial sweetener diet is a very effective way of stupefying humanity. So somebody that's on medications and aspartame and fluoride, or even water that's been in plastic bottles. I put my highly purified carbon filtered solar activated water in glass because I do not want the chemicals from the plastics in the glass. By the way, if you're drinking Dasani, you're also consuming magnesium sulfate. That's something you want in your body? Not me. I am all about water chlorination, killing bacteria, and then I'm all about taking it out in my water system. I want that taken out because it kills healthy gut flora, which the neurotransmitters and dopamine, endorphins, serotonin, all of those operational transmitters. And then there are interrupters that are in the form of expensive pharmaceuticals. If you think that the street person that used to be a soldier that's on medication can afford to pay thousands of dollars a month to have his personality warped and modified, you're dreaming. Everybody else is paying for that through inflation, through taxation. The system of this world, so like when the military makes a missile that costs millions of dollars, who pays for that? Well, we all pay for that. We all pay for it through the devaluing of the dollar, the creating of money out of thin air. There could be a chimpanzee smoking a cigar and adding digits into a bank account. And essentially, they're making money out of thin air. That's how the world reserve currency, the world central bank, the Rothschilds. Yeah, I mentioned them, the Rothschilds. But see, I'm not freaked out about all this. I'm just aware that it's going on, and I want to help people be aware that the fractional reserve lending system and the means of marketing of products to gain satisfaction in life, so to speak, it's a very convoluted containment system to basically conscript humanity into a false reality. So watching a lot of sometimes fabricated news events and then advertising the pharmaceuticals to feel okay with it, or watching the football games and getting all liquored up on whatever alcohol they're promoting, or the pharmaceuticals. It's just it's unfortunate, but it's part of the control system. It's the beast system, the matrix, so to speak. So Satan views God's children and God as a virus, as best I can tell, an adversary. And what happens is the God who created this world has victory already, and so do his children, and I am one of. So how's my family? I saw a comment, what if you're disowned by family? When you come out, when you expose the truth about the realities of the world we're in, and then family members disown you or me. Well, ultimately, the family that really matters isn't the family members of this biological interface with this reality. It's my spiritual family, my born-again brothers and sisters in Christ, and also people that have been champions of the faith throughout history, his story. So the Apostle Paul, the disciples, the champions of the true biblical faith are my family members, and yours if you're a child of God. The really important thing to evaluate is, are you actually born again? And so there are characteristics that should be evident in somebody that believes they're born of God's Spirit. So I thought I was born again until I actually was. I was a slave to sin. I didn't have the strength to say no to my flesh, my fleshly desires. I was an absolute slave to all of that. So when I got set free from that and had the bravery, the courage to say, no more drugs. I'm not taking them. I'm not doing them. I tried a dozen years and 16 medications. They made me suicidal and homicidal. I'm 4 years off of all drugs and medications, and I won't take them anymore. And I'm not a threat to myself. I'm not a threat to other human beings. I'm not a violent person. I'm simply exposing the reality to the world that we live in. So conversely, Truman was on a movie set of The Truman Show. It's another movie we use as an example within the truth movements. And there's ultimately one truth movement, the way, the truth, and the life. So what ends up happening here is Truman realizes towards the end of the movie that he's on a movie set and that it's all a fabricated reality for him. And what I'm wanting to do is essentially the opposite of that. I want to show the rest of humanity that there's a very complex form of deception and containment system, containing people in a false reality, conscripting them to slavery to their own selfish desires and to a wicked taskmaster that ultimately they'll spend an eternity with unless they're born of God's Spirit. So the individuals that open themselves up to satanic music and drugs that impair perception and affect the will and all of that, that's very dangerous. So for an eternal perspective, YouTube it. Thank you so much. Okay, so that was the end of my live or my P900 broadcast, or not broadcast, but recording, and I was able to capture some pretty interesting footage, and I'm going to do that again. We've got a vehicle out there, which is kind of unusual. Need kind of like you have to almost be like a VIP to get out there, as far as I understand. I don't know. In a vehicle, that is. Now, I've been out there on horseback. The Inlet Point Plantation provides an excellent opportunity to ride horses out there. I enjoyed that with a dear friend and a bunch of other people that I met. So part of the dynamic of all this is I've got direct sunlight hitting my phone, and I'm probably going to lose the broadcast because of too much heat on it. So I'm going to try and defer that a little bit by putting a business card on the face of my phone, so it stops that from happening. It'll bounce the light off of it. Sorry about that. It's kind of a big deal. I really like the iPhone 10 and some of the features of it. Because of the glass face, I love the feel of it. However, it picks up the heat quite a bit. So I'm actually in the Matrix as well. We all are. We're all in this system of control, and yet I'm free. I'm moving in and out of it. There's this me that you can look at approximately 7 seconds after this happened, and after I said that. And then there's the digital me that doesn't get tired. It's just out there, but it can get taken down. My channel could get taken down. My Facebook could be taken down. To survive the apocalypse, what the book of Revelation talks about, it's not going to happen with extra canned goods, gold, guns, and a life straw, a way to purify water. It might give you a little bit more time, ultimately a person needs to be born again. So there's a storm coming. What is that storm? Well, it's ultimately 3 people per second no longer have their human experience. We're all eternal beings having this temporary human experience. When we can't fog a mirror or register a pulse, that's it, according to Scripture. We won't be able to decide anymore. A man and his dog. Watch the water fly off of the dog. I want to zoom in a little bit. Oh, I wanted to get that. See, the water seeks its level. There's differences in density and mass. Heavier than falls, lighter than floats. It's just the way that it is. It's not complicated. People get all ill about, oh, I don't understand gravity. I know it's a deception. It's part of the cosmic godless Big Bang that makes that whole line work for the deceived, for the insincere investigator. That's not what I am. I wanted to know the truth, no matter where it led. And I believe I found that, the way, the truth, and the life. So like right in the view here, I'm going to zoom in on this a bit. I want to show the precision with which the water fills in that tapered view. Look at that shot. Isn't that spectacular? And then the boat there. We can't see the bottom of the boat. Obviously, it's not going over any curvature. It's about perspective. I can't see through the sand, and I wouldn't be able to see through the water either. So that's one of the other things that occurs. There's waves that impair our perception, our perspective. So people are very reflective out here. They're collecting they're collecting like seashells, shark teeth, and memories, quality time with one another. And so with that in mind, there's a lot of photography that's being done, video that's being taken. Looks like there's going to be a wedding out here today. Oh, that was such a cool shot. I just put that up there and took that shot, the person and the seagull. I can't time that, it just happens. So like here's a fishing boat and a couple of people pulling their fishing equipment out there as well. There's a lot of different tools for fishing. All right, thank you so much. You know, there's different equipment. We can use boats to go out there and get a different fish. And so what I'm actually utilizing is the worldwide internet and instantaneous personal communications that I can make public, and I do. All my stuff is basically public so that people can be aware of what I want to tell them, what I want to show them, the actual reality of the world that we live in. Now, part of the dynamic here too, as there's so much that I want to share with you, and it's a real challenge to do that. But what I'm going to do is disconnect my power right now, and that'll allow me to take this more mobile. I want to show you some of the reality here. So part of what this used to be a much flatter area, and now with the change of the hydrodynamics, there's a lot going on here. That's a very fine sediment, like a biological material, and then of course look at the water coming up through those holes because of hydrostatic pressure. And then, so like right in front of the view here, right in the middle of the view, it'll get pretty calm right next to that. Right there. This even a bit more. And then it's perfectly level. We can see the sediment, the little ripples that I cause will go away pretty quickly. If I want to put the sun in there, I probably just need to go like this, right? If I want it in the middle, I just back up a little bit more. And there it is. If you want to learn how to take some interesting photography, some of my videos cover that. And I'm showing it continually. What's kind of interesting about this exploration out here is there could be different fish or critters in the tidal pools, like a little squid that bit me the other day or stung me. Yeah, no infection or anything. I just sucked out whatever toxin or anesthetic he might have put in me, like a bee stinger if they've got a beak or a stinger. I don't know. Not sure. I don't know what that is. That's pretty nasty looking. See all of these clouds right here, the color contrast in the darker sand, I think is just very beautiful. And this was part of my part of my understanding the impossibility of the globe. Not only wouldn't the water be flat and level like that, people aren't fishing upside down in relationship to other people. That's ridiculous. And yet people believe that, unaware of that. They don't know. So I'm going to keep taking us a bit further out here. This big shelf that's out here is quite a bit higher, and what it's done is created a very aggressive path of water that flows in a narrower area, increasing the velocity and the force that the water exerts on the trees that were growing next to the island there. And some of those trees had fallen a long time ago. They were just sitting in there. Ship on the horizon. Let's zoom in 10 times. So the laws of perspective are some of the laws of perspective. The way things actually work causes our limited ability to see things at a great distance, especially on water or around water because of increased humidity. So the other day I did a live broadcast and it was raining really aggressively on my way to Costco, and then the sun came out and dried it all up. Where did that water go? Well, it evaporated off of the hot blacktop concrete, cars and all of that, and then it got moved by the wind and has condensed or will condense and come down in the form of some type of precipitation. It's the reality of the world that we live in, the hydrologic cycle. How much does a gallon of water weigh? Do you know that? Well, it depends. It depends on the temperature of the water because the density and volume changes with the temperature. And slight temperature differentials lead to condensation, which takes all the water that's transpired out of the plants. Transpiration is the process of creating oxygen and releasing water through the process of photosynthesis and plant growth and all that. Wow, we've got a fast moving dog there. How cool. Let me zoom in on him if I can a bit. So there's a good view of bigger waves and calmer waves, and he's just walking across a sandbar. See how the level of his head stays about the same as the horizon line based on my perspective. That's some of what I show in the videos, like a bicycle rider lined up perfectly with the edge of the horizon like that. Sometimes I have to flip it around because my zooming back out feature is having a little bit of an issue. But anyway, I wanted to show you this just the same. So the color contrasting of the relatively calm water, there's ripples there, but the water overall is flat. And it's not just that the view changes a little bit based on perspective, but also because of the direction of the ripples. See, because like right here, the trees in the island, I'm sure you can notice the reflections here. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer because I want to illustrate something and how precise this all is. Sometimes we can see reflections better because of the calm water, like right in the middle of the view. And there we go. We'll see that a little bit better. That's all part of the construct. One of the other things is today there will be typically a lot of boaters that come out. Not as much at low tide. Kayakers like to come out when the tide's going out. They'll hang out here for a good part of the day, and then the tide will help bring them right back in. It's an actual flow of current. They can just kind of like steer the kayak a little bit, and the current will bring them in. This is the example of what I was talking about earlier. So this person's legs don't even, we can't see him. Where is he now? There. So he's just lower. It's based on perspective. We know he's probably not an amputee, that somebody brought him out here. No, he's just standing below what we can see, beneath our perspective. And then this washboard surface is much like the waves that it was like on the top. You know, that kind of system goes into that. So there's fishermen using rods and reels, and others using nets and in that. This gentleman looks like he's using both. He's got nets and fishing poles. And see, all the different shapes in this tidal area are different based on the flow. How the wind and the water interacted as the tide went out. So there's a lot of real interesting dynamics, fluid dynamics, aerodynamics. The wind is coming from over there, southwest, at between 5 and 7 miles an hour. Now here the tidal pools don't have as much of that decomposing vegetation in that. The overall flow is like that, but then there's like a swirl that goes around here that contributes to the different shapes that we're looking at. One of the other things I want to draw your attention to is the obvious reality that the water, the physics and properties of the water. Undisturbed water is flat and level. We can see the ripples. So right here we've got a lot of ripples. Not so much right here. And it's connected right to each other, kind of. The washboard surface like this actually reduces airflow and allows just beautiful reflections out here. So this one's got quite a bit more air flowing over the top, not as much on this one because of the raised sand right there. It creates a slipstream. Now you can see it from that angle. Watch what happens when I turn around. Over here it's pretty glassy. When and right up at the front it's going to be smoother. See, the value in what I'm showing is quite a bit, as far as I can tell. People come from all over the world to enjoy this. And people from all over the world can see this on the internet. People can come back and see it through my YouTube channel, through Facebook. Their own videos, their own photos. The value that I bring to it is that I do it so much that there's different settings, different days, and then I've merged the audio Bible with the beauty of creation out here. So low tide today is going to be like 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, 8:38 I believe it was. And then it'll be high tide about 6¼ hours later, with water about this high. It would be at my chest level here, and there's going to be a whole lot of current. And then with the waves interacting, it'd be over my head where the waves are. I'll try and block some of the wind. It's it's just part of the dynamic, but it also illustrates some things. Here we've got a lot of ripples, not so much right there because of the aerodynamics. The sand up here, higher is drier, lighter is drier. The lighter colored sand can be quite a bit drier, and it can also be a little bit different consistency based on is it just sand, or is there quite a bit of decomposing like biological matter, like trees and plants, and somewhere around here there was right in this area an 8-foot bull shark was caught and decapitated and just left out here in the water. That's not, the gentleman who caught it didn't do anything illegal. An 8-foot bull shark could kill a person, no problem. They weigh about 600 pounds or so. That one did. One of my videos, there was a big fiberglass boat that ran aground there. They only had a few seconds to decide how to get it off of there. Well, they didn't, and it stayed there for all day. Some Iron Man sunglasses. I'll be back. Yeah, I'm not going to be using them. Somebody may like them. Most likely that would have come off of a jet skier or a boater. Somebody walking out here wouldn't just leave them normally. So the clues are all around us. What kind of a world do we live in? Wow, look at this. Footprints in the sand. There's a lot of air in the sand here because the water has left it. Now, just a little distance over here. Okay, so look at that. And then look at that. See, it's just the nature of how this actually works. That's what I'm wanting to help people see. And that's really hard, the way that is. So one of the dynamics that oh, this is kind of cool. This one's a bit nasty, but like the hair ties, our kitties, like the naked kitties, the Sphinx kitties, they like the hair ties. So this year, millions of people, about 20 million, spent billions of dollars to bring cat toys for Smeagol and Dean Martin. They like playing with the hair ties. I wash them off, bring them home sometimes, if they don't have a bunch of stuff in them. I've got shots of eagles up here. It's all kind of interesting. Probably going to lose my wife. Joni is going to move back to Wisconsin. She would rather live by our sons, than here with me on this worldwide outreach. That's unfortunate for her. and for me. It's working out different than I wanted things to work out. So let's see, I want to show you the man rolling a boat. And there you go. And see, that's, you know, that's probably about 1,000 feet away. So we've got 3 adult sons. I'm not, so it's not like I'm losing my family. Everybody's all adults. I talked with people from all over the world, finding out that a lot of people that are passionate about the truth are having disintegrated family relations. So it's largely the biological family that's disintegrating, not the family that loves the truth. And that's part of the issue. You know, there's cohesivity, or there's unity in the truth of the gospel, and then with those that are deceived, well, they don't know it. And it's so sad, because I know we don't live on a globe, and I can't get Joni to show me in the Bible where she believes I'm deceived by Satan. She'll tell me, say you're deceived by Satan. I said, well, would you show me in Scripture where you believe that's true? She won't do it because she can't do it. You know, the spinning globe, heliocentric, sun-worshipping, scientific false reality, it's a lie. It's just a lie. It's what it is. She would rather see me as a deceived individual that needs to be medicated and or hospitalized. Oh well, that works for her, because then she doesn't need to submit to my biblical leadership in the household. She just gets to do her own thing. Wow. A lot of people want to do their own thing. I had a questionnaire sent to me through Amazon because I bought some stuff there. I decided not to go through with it. I was supposedly going to get an iPhone 10. But anyway, the survey asked me, was I a man, woman, or other? Yeah, as in the days of Noah. There's a transpocalypse going on now, too, of sorts, where people are thinking they can be whatever gender they want. Well, changing the plumbing and the padding doesn't change the genetics. And as in the days of Noah, the flood that Noah prepared for covered the face of the earth to over the tops of all the mountains. That island right there, the tops of those trees may be 100 feet above sea level, if that, maybe 75 or so. Apparently we've got Mount Everest 5.5 miles tall. That's a lot of water. Where did it all come from, and where did it all go? So in the Great Flood, there were 3 water sources mentioned. It started raining and God opened up the floodgates of heaven. Apparently there's a lot of water up there, separated by the firmament, separating the waters above from the waters below. And then the fountains of the deep opened up. Could be what operates the tidal activity. There is a relationship between the activity of the sun and the moon and the tides. There's a relationship between the sun, moon, and everything as far as a date and time thing and a season. So you know, we can like see the sun came up over here today, and it's going to come up over there and be much lower in the sky and further away when we have our cooler season here. You know, we're past mid-August, and we're in the hurricane season. We could have a powerful storm come in here anytime now. And when that happens, I have a mobile broadcast studio with the 1994 Lexus that I'll use for a place to show you some of that, as well as other locations that I'll be able to be that's like a fortified concrete structures to show some of that. That's one of the reasons why I encourage people to subscribe to my channel and look for notifications. I should say have the notification bell activated. See, I've been coming out here for years, and this is so different, whoa, than it used to be. Man, I'm not upset with it or anything. It's just that it changed a lot with the all this sand being brought in from the bottom of the ocean and pumped up onto the beach. So some of what I'll continue to do is to hashtag different things, like somebody was hating on me on a post. I just, in answer to his very sarcastic assertion, I just put hashtag deceived. I believe he's deceived. He doesn't know. He doesn't know. He doesn't know. Thinks himself pretty well educated. There's the fine silt of the decomposing material. The way that all this works is just absolutely spectacular. All of these little jets of water that change the way the sand looks. I have flat earth meetups out here every day. This is the Point in Cherry Grove, South Carolina. Feel free to come and visit me. Call ahead if you like, or just show up on the sand. If you want a private conversation, I can cut the broadcast. I meet people from all over, all different walks of life. Some of them actually working within the beast system. We're all in it. It's just what is some people are working more to construct it. But see, even like I'm against Google or the internet or Facebook or YouTube. That system of control is wanting to manage humanity. Oh well. And so it's God, the God who created all this. And so the exciting opportunity that we have in this exploration for truth seekers, hashtag truth seekers, is that we're in a battle that a lot of people don't even realize exists, and we can help them know about that. Now, all of God's children will absolutely be born again at some point in this human experience. So this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. The darker sand is probably got more absorbent material in it. The water got off of this sand sooner, and it just kind of falls out. Not only do we have evaporation going on, the water is going into aquifers underground. And so when I've become used to seeing the way that this actually works out here, You know, I can tell by looking at the sand there was a lot of wind. How does this world actually work? How do things actually work? Jet planes can't fly through buildings like they did on 9/11. Not an intact nose cone coming out the other side of a concrete structure it supposedly flew through. See, that's not possible. And a lot of mind-controlled, deceived individuals it's going to go over their head. They're not going to see it. They're not going to recognize it. So I remember seeing that live. Not just that I saw footage of it afterwards, I saw it live. And it didn't register with me that was impossible. Jet fuel doesn't melt steel, and it doesn't vaporize concrete. What we saw clearly on 9/11 was part of the Mark of the Beast control grid, the Matrix at work, obviously. The Patriot Act was ready to release on humanity. It wasn't just from the United States, it's all over the world. So I'm connected with truth seekers from all over the world. This isn't just about waking up the United States. It's about waking up the world, waking up the children of God, and then putting Satan's children and Satan on notice that your time is limited. And I encourage people to seek the truth with all your heart for an eternal perspective. YouTube it.